live on August the 6th, or maybe you're watching this another time, but I just want to say hello and welcome. Welcome to your opportunity to get asked your garden questions and get them answered. Find a little bit about the world of indoor and outdoor gardening, get you inspired, get you growing, maybe get that Garden of Eden turn into the Garden of Eden. That's what I try to do here, as well as the community that kind of hops on here. We're all here to help and answer some questions and have approximately a half an hour of some gardening fun, some garden glory. If you're wondering where the heck was I last week? I'm sorry that I missed our opportunity to speak, but I was in the air flying. I was actually in Chicago. I'll tell you a little bit more about Chicago just coming up in a little bit of time as well, and show you some of the different things that I did there as well, because it was all based on finding out about what's new, interesting, and what's going to be happening in your gardens coming up. Maybe you're joining for the first time. You're wondering, who the heck is this guy? Well, this guy, pointing this guy, where it says Flower Plower, born 1972. That's why it says found in 1972. I was born 1972. I'm a 4-time best-selling garden author. You can see me Monday through Friday on Breakfast Television's City TV's Breakfast Television, where I'm wild about weather. Yes, I forecast the weather, and I'm passionate about plants, as well as my family has 2 garden centers. They're greenhouse growers, so I'm a product of child labor. And as well, I'm a 4-time recipient of Landscape Ontario's Garden Communicator of the Year. I've done some other stuff as well, not to mention, not to toot my own home, but we got a good morning out there from Barry this morning, from Jill. A top of the morning to you on this sunny Sunday, looking actually way better than what the original forecast was. Matthew giving us a shout out this morning too and saying, hey, Frank, hey, back to Matthew as well. We got Claudine, I think it is it Claude Diane, that is. Good morning from Ottawa. The Ottawa Valley, you did have some fairly significant and severe weather last week in terms of some tornadic activity. I hope you're doing well. It's been interesting, the severity of weather that we've been seeing as well over the last little bit. A good morning to Collingwood out there this morning. Denise, good morning to you. Good morning to Jane and beautiful Ancaster this morning. Virginia giving us a shout out this morning too. Good morning to you as well. So first off, let's talk a little bit about what's been up in my world over the last few days. Yesterday, was it yesterday? Friday. I got to attend and be invited and to speak at Lake of Bays Garden Center up in Dwight, Ontario. Beautiful, beautiful community. Great garden center as well. Linda, her crew there, as well as Rebecca, do a fantastic job. We had about approximately 60 of us hanging around for the day. Learned a little bit about more of naturalized and more native plants as well. I spoke upon just what's happening in the industry, a little bit of behind the scenes in the industry of the world of gardening, and then also just answered some different garden questions where people came from all over. There was people there from Collingwood, Etobicoke, people that cottaged up in Dwight, but people that lived there. But a big shout out to the Lake of Bays Garden Center there. Claude Diane, that is saying, just in terms of Ottawa, the tornado wasn't close to me in Ottawa this time, but the last one hit very close. Thanks for asking out there as well. Diane is saying, good morning. I was there Friday. Thanks for the selfie. You are so welcome. And that was a great time. Lake of Bays Brewery also helped us out there as well. So that was what I was doing that day. Also want to give you guys an update on Two Sisters Winery, where we talk about grow your own pizza. That was supposed to be happening on August the 27th. Due to some scheduling difficulties or challenges at Two Sisters Winery, they will be moving that to September the 17th. So once again, September the 17th will be being where we do grow your own pizza. I'll be talking about harvesting. We'll talk about the great different herbs that we have and all the different things we have accessible to us to build a great pizza right in your backyard. I will be also pairing that with some wines, so that'll be a lot of fun. Now, what I want to show you guys is what I was up to. And if you're wondering what I was up to, last weekend, the reason why I was in Chicago was I was going to visit a place called Ball Horticulture. And if you're wondering, what the heck is Ball? Well, Ball Horticulture is a company that is a global broker, supplier, and breeder of plants. And so in Chicago is their headquarters, and these are called the Gardens at Ball. And the Gardens at Ball are an area where greenhouse growers, and those that retail plants can go and walk through the gardens and take a look at all the different types of new varieties. So you can see right there, that variety that's up there right now is a lantana, that's passion fruit, a beautiful trailing lantana. It was actually sent to me in my sample pack this year as well. But we can walk around and see how plants are performing. Take a look at some of the echinacea that are there. Those are some barrow echinacea. There's a double echinacea that was making a lot of headways there as well. A lot of people speaking about it. Amanda joined. Amanda did, it was just too pretty for her not to take some different photos. If you want to check out Amanda does all my social media, shoots all my social media, and works with me on that. But you can check her out at Below the Blonde. Amanda is actually getting married this Friday in Niagara-on-the-Lake as well. Take a look at this plant right here that I have in the center of the screen. Maybe you're listening, not watching. This one here is a crazy, crazy tropical foliage plant. And if you're wondering, what does that leaf look like? Well, the name of this plant is called stingray. So if we look at that leaf, it actually appears to be a stingray. This was in a section called Ball Ingenuity. Ball Ingenuity is a section where they're all the smaller breeders that Ball represents. So smaller breeders around the world that are creating new plant varieties. And I'm going to slide up again. That's where Ball can just kind of showcase them. Let's talk about varieties. So this variety here, you can see that yellow petunia that's up on the sky frame that's there. That yellow petunia is what's called bee's knees. That yellow petunia has been one of the more popular introductions in the last few years. And it's in a beautiful yellow trailing petunia that's self-cleaning. It's actually the size between a petunia and a calibricola. It's one of the brightest yellows, if not the brightest yellow on the market. And if you're wondering, how long did it take to develop bee's knees? So that's the variety. It's called bee's knees. That variety, from when it was first thought up to all the way through to when they started doing different breeding and genetics on that, to being able to retail, was a 10-year process. A 10-year process. So if you think about that, where we have the world of gardening that's trying to mimic fashion and trends, sometimes you have to think 5-10 years out to kind of create these different new varieties and interesting varieties and some of the tried and true varieties that are out there. But if you're wondering how many growers attended this event last weekend that happened, and you can see right there in the center of the screen there, you can see myself with Tanya. Tanya is one of the big influencers of Ball, I would call, but also a really good friend of mine. And we used to work together. And beside her is Max Epp. Max Epp works for Ball, but growing up, Max was the one down at the food terminal with me, with my father, and actually he had a plant business as well. But there's lots of great people in the industry and lots of things that we're going to continue to share. That's a picture there at the top there of John Thager. He's one of the head category managers. Oh, looks like it's more like a fashion show than anything there, those pictures. But John Thager's one of the category managers, overseers, that is, for Canadian Tire. So they were there as well taking a look. So that's a little bit of behind the scenes as well. Susan is asking, will you be having Tanya on you with again, Sue? I enjoyed you and her on the last time. Yes, I will. Technically, I need to figure it out because I'm doing a new restream kind of thing. So I got to test that and make sure that happens as well. We got Melissa here this morning, and Melissa is saying, morning from Aurora, Frankie, beautiful community. Wondering if there's a better solution to save my roses. Okay, so roses there's many different varieties of roses, but often roses get aphids, black spot, powdery mildew, things like that. Something is eating them, and I was told to use soapy water solution to spray on them. Any suggestions? So you could even be having beetles, the Japanese indoor dream beetle, that are eating them. So the first thing is trying to determine what is eating them. If it's a beetle is a hard-shelled insect, so soapy water will not work. I would recommend something like a Beetle Be Gone. It's a product by Scott's Miracle Grow. Ortho, though, is the company, and that's the Beetle Be Gone. You also have Bug Be Gone, which will take care of things like aphids, more softer shell. But the first step is to determine what is eating, and then the next step is to control those. When is the best time to be looking to inspect to see what's eating? It's either morning and or evening, where you can actually see. Many insects will eat during the cooler periods of the day. Sometimes you can see them in daylight, but you can want to inspect. Roses, though, instead of being reactive, I would recommend doing what's called integrated pest management. And so at least once a month, I would probably be treating them with an insecticidal soap, like a Bug Be Gone, to be more proactive than reactive. And whenever we're treating or using a spray or solution on any plants, we never want to do that during the heat of the day. So we never want to be doing that during the hours of 11 to 5 when the sun's at its greatest intensity. If it's an overcast, cooler day, we can do that. We also want to be treating on a period of time when we're not going to be seeing rain because we don't want the rain to wash that away. Whereas if we're fertilizing, if we're using a water fertilizer on our gardens, which we can still do, it's best to do that right after a rain. And of course, if you're fertilizing your lawn, it's best to do that before a rain. So those are some of the tips and tricks that I would give you. If by chance it is disease, then that's where you need to use a fungicide. There are many different rose varieties that are quite hardy and even have some disease and insect resistance, such as knockout roses are really good. Griffin buck roses are really good as well. Got another question here as well from Marissa Dazati. Good morning. I'm wondering how to eliminate cinch bugs in my lawn. Thanks. So cinch bugs are a difficult to control insect because they are soil-borne insect. There are some different control measures that you can use that really even go along the same side as grubs. You can take a look at some of the different natural solutions that are available too, that are water treatment solution where you would go into your garden center as well. Natural Insect Control is a company that produces some things for cinch bug control. Cinch bugs, if you want to know if you do have a cinch bug, the easiest way to determine that is to put a white sheet on your lawn and the area that you think is being harmed by cinch bugs. If you see a little brown to reddish bug hopping on that white bed sheet or that white sheet, then indeed you have cinch bugs that's in your lawn. As well, what you can do is you can take a metal container. So let's say that we took a metal container of apple juice and we actually cut the bottom and top off and we shoved it in the ground and then we filled that up with water. The cinch bugs will float to the surface. But cinch bugs are not easy to control. A reminder, allowing your lawn a little bit more height, cutting it up at about 4 inches of height, really important. Watering your lawn. Cinch bugs shouldn't be as active this year because we've actually had fairly of a wet season. So I want to make sure that you determine that cinch bugs first. I'm getting an enjoy a beautiful day. Huguette, thank you. You have a beautiful day today as well. We got Diane this morning too. Beautiful sunshine here in Wasaga. Some people say Wasaga, but it is the Nottawasaga River. So it's supposed to be Wasaga. At least that's what I was told. We got a question about phlox. My phlox has powdery mildew on its leaves. What should I do? Phlox is a plant that gets powdery mildew. It's almost, if you have phlox, there are a couple of varieties like David, which is the white phlox. That actually has a greater resistance to powdery mildew. As soon as you get powdery mildew, you need to treat with a fungicide. The other things to prevent powdery mildew in phlox is to make sure that we have good air circulation through our garden. So if your garden's really packed and full in the fall or later summer, thinning out that garden is another way to create some air circulation to minimize the powdery mildew. Treating with a fungicide will minimize, it may not eliminate, but it will help to take care of that as well. But more so, we're trying to prevent the powdery mildew. Once you get the powdery mildew, by the time we correct that, we're almost near the end of the season. If the phlox is finished blooming or they're not looking healthy whatsoever, instead of treating with a fungicide, what I would do is cut those phlox down, remove them, and then what I would do is wipe your shears, of course, with a little bit of a bleach solution so that we're not going to move that powdery mildew around. And that'll just clean up the garden and help you out, and then discard that foliage that's there as well. Elena, giving me a heart, saying, love this. No, we love you. You and you. Mary, what's bugging you? Sorry. Good morning, Frankie. My climbing rose is huge, but it has no blooms on it. Is there something I can do to help it bloom? So the reason why a rose will not bloom, first question I'm going to say to you, how much sun is it getting? It needs full sun. If it's not getting full sun, you can get foliage, but no flower. Second thing is what are you fertilizing with? If we're fertilizing, and often we're using an acidic fertilizer for roses, but if we're using something too high in nitrogen, we're getting more bloom, we're getting more growth and no bloom. Third thing is has that rose, that climbing rose, reverted to a wild rose? How will you know that? So if we look at a rose, climbing roses, you'll see the root, which is in the soil, but just above the soil area will be the graft point. And that graft point will look like a woody, almost ball. And then from there, you'll see the stems coming from that graft point. If your growth is coming below that graft point, then that climbing rose has become wild. And because it's become wild, you get a lot of leaves, but no blooms. So how do we correct it? So if it's become wild, it's a dud. We got to get rid of it. You're never going to get blooms. If it's not enough light, pruning. So pruning some trees around to allow more pockets of light in will help. Fertilizing, looking for a fertilizer that's going to have a little bit more of a middle number to help out with some of the blooms that are there. Then selectively pruning back sometimes will stimulate bloom as well. I would love to see a picture of this, Mary. So if you sent a picture to me at Frankie at frankieflowers.com. Hey, want to let you know, if you're watching this right now and you're watching this on Facebook or any platform, you can go down to the bottom where you're watching and you can see this little button called share. If you share this, the reason why we want to share this is we want to extend the community. We want to help more people out there. But if you share, you're going to win the chance to win up to $75 in Scott's Miracle Grow products sent to your home. We've already, a couple weeks ago, announced a bunch of winners that we've already had. Those winners, and let me just kind of mention their names here because I had it on my Facebook page, which is my Facebook page, if you're wondering, is at Ask Frankie Flowers. That's my Facebook page that's out there. Rebecca Glover and Bonnie Green were the two that won the last prize packs from Scott's Miracle Grow. So big shout out to them. And that's your chance. So all you have to do is hit that share button. You can go. We got good morning from Prince Edward County this morning. Beautiful area. Christine. I gotta come out there and see you, Christine. I do. I gotta go out there and visit my friend Chris Kitchen at the Red Barn as well. Elizabeth, good morning. I have a very aggressive ground cover that is choking everything out. Nothing seems to work to kill this stuff. Help. So a lot of ground covers, we had this discussion up at Lake Bay's Garden Center. A lot of ground covers, when you're using them, the reason why you're often using them is you have an area of a garden that you don't want weeds to grow. You just want something to fill that area and you want it to kind of take over. Well, that's the method of a ground cover. And if a ground cover is left in an area and it's not edged out and it's left to run, it'll run and fill and start choking things out. In order to reduce or rid yourself of any type of perennial plant, because if it does have a perennial root, then what we have to do is we have to suffocate the root from energy. What that means is we have to try to continually remove, but more specifically, try to remove as much root, but also try to remove foliage. The leaves are what gives energy to the root. So if we're suffocating, so even if we remove a whole area out, then if we put a thicker layer of mulch down, that'll actually eliminate light to leaves, and that light to leaves will actually help you start to win the battle over. But this is not a one-stage thing where you could either treat with a non-selective herbicide, like a Roundup, which will knock it back, but then you have to continue to do the eradication, removal of this perennial ground cover over the course of a few seasons before you can get it into check. It will take a lot of time and it'll take a lot of sweat equity. But a lot of the times, if you're going to buy things like periwinkle, if you're going to buy ajuga, which is also known as bugleweed, pachysandra, those are all ground covers. But those ground covers, if left to run, will become eventually an undesired plant. And an undesired plant is just a weed. Melissa saying, thank you this morning. We got Barb out there saying good morning as well. Terry Lynn. Hello, Terry Lynn. Morning from Ottawa. Good morning to you. Love Ottawa. My tomato plant leaves are turning yellow and brown with spots at the bottom of the plant. Any thoughts? It's probably late blight or fusarium wilts. Is there anything that you can do to correct it? Any of those leaves that are really looking bad right now, if you still have some green, remove the leaves that are diseased. That's the reason why we're always trying to remove the bottom leaves on tomato plants from touching the soil, because the pathogens will jump up, and those pathogens, when they'll jump up, will cause late blight or fusarium wilt. Environmentally, what's happened is that we've been getting humid conditions and really intense rainfalls, and that's kind of the ideal weather for blight. And I've been seeing lots of tomatoes. Actually, I have 2 plants here. So just so you know, I have 2 plants here that are more newer varieties, more of a hybrid tomato, that are VFN. So when you looked at the tag, it said virus free. So those guys there right now are producing tomatoes, doing well. My 2 heirloom variety tomatoes, one is really struggling and it has late blight and I have to pull it. And the other one is just starting to get late blight. So that's exactly what's happening. And I guarantee you more people watching this or that will be watching this probably has the same thing on their tomatoes. Heather Fellows, my neighbor has 2 large cement slabs before the stairs, but there is a 2-inch space in between them. They are 6 feet long, which is a lovely space for weeds. Can I plant something that will take some light foot traffic to stop the weeds? The issue that we're going to have in that little small space is, although weeds can grow there, a lot of different, if we were to do, let's say thyme would probably be the best thing. A crawling silver thyme would probably be the best thing that would be there. But a lot of the times it just doesn't work out. It's 2 inches, so it's enough space. So you could actually put silica sand in there. So you could kind of clean it up. And then with that, the silica sand is actually a binder, so that you put it in and then you put water on it. And then that will bind. And by binding it, it won't allow as much weeds to go through. Your torch, which is my weed torch, my favorite tool that I use in between patio slabs to burn, is really a great thing. The other thing that you can do is you could actually get AstroTurf and just put a strip of AstroTurf in there, like just a green strip of AstroTurf. With 2 inches of space, the issue that we have is it dries out really quickly. And by being in between slabs, it heats really fast. So it's really, really difficult, not impossible, but difficult if you're not watering it to your neighbor. So those are some of the recommendations that I would have to you. Carol. How you doing today, Carol? My tomato plants in containers have grayish green leaves with specks on the bottom half only. Top of the plant is green with tomatoes. So those bottom leaves that have some of the specks themselves is actually thrips. It's actually an insect causing those specks. The grayish leaves themselves could be the indication of some blight starting. So I would remove some of those bottom leaves, any of the ones that are severely infected, and then just give your tomato plant, when we're not in the hot summer sun, a little spraying of something like a Bug Be Gone and or an insecticidal. So Valerie, how is Valerie today? Good morning. Speaking of grass, what height should the blade be with this weather? So right now I'm cutting my lawnmower at a 4. So if you go and we click it up, we're going to 4. So that is basically creating a blade height of about 4 inches. So that's my blade height currently. And with the hot sunny conditions, the reason why we're making it a taller blade of grass, we still want it to be tall, but firm. So it's not going to fall over that blade. We want it to be tall enough so that it can shade the roots. By shading the roots, it's going to keep those roots nice and cool and maintain more moisture. But also at that height, it's going to shade weed seeds down below, not allowing weed seeds to germinate, so reducing the amount of weeds. A summer guard fertilizer can still be applied at this time of the year. That summer formulated fertilizer is one that will also help your lawn. And with the amount of rain that we've had, an additional fertilizing would probably be really recommended. We got Lori Smith that's out there this morning. Lori, Frank, your trip to Chicago looked like a great time. I'm going to tell you, Chicago, if you go to Millennial Park, amazing gardens, amazing natural spaces that are there. Fantastic. If you go to which is North Michigan Street, which is known as, I think it's called like the Millennium Mile or $1 Million Mile, or I forget what it's called. The plantings, the like their former mayor was so into horticulture and was so into the benefits of having great garden spaces and great colorful plants in a downtown core to inspire. Chicago is just, if you love to garden, you love cities, and the architectural tour that we did there, so good. You got to do it. We got Peggy. Some bugs are chewing up my lower sunflower leaves. No idea what. I'm in Thunder Bay, Ontario. So lower leaves around the sunflower plant, it could often be just something as simple as a slug, crawling insect that could be doing that. So what can we do to prevent that crawling insect from coming onto your sunflower is we can put either crushed shells, like eggshells around the base of the sunflower. If you like to eat any shellfish, so let's say that you eat mussels or clams, you can allow those shells to dry and then pulverize them up and put them around the base of your plants. You can use a slug bait. Slug bait is completely Health Canada approved, and that is the Ortho. It's Slug Be Gone is the slug bait, which is a fantastic product that you can use that will actually take care of them. But those are some of the ideas that I have for you. We got another lawn question today as well. Good morning, Frank. My lawn is being taken over with crabgrass, which is crabgrass. Looking for a solution to rid of it. So crabgrass is an annual weed that germinates by seed. So right now, hand removal is one of the things that we can do. But when you remove crabgrass, as we're removing, we're actually going to disperse the weed seeds that are there. So when we're removing, we want to put it into a pail and or a bag right away. Like, so remove in. Then what we'll do is next spring is we'll put a pre-emergent, something that is like a weed preventer. So you have Scott's Turf Builder Weed Prevent. That one there is one that actually has corn gluten. And with our current cosmetic pesticide ban, that's one of the only approved products to prevent the germination of crabgrass seeds and any weed seeds that are sitting on our lawn. And we're applying that in early spring after the snow melts, but before things are actively growing outdoors. So we're doing that in early April. So there's the two things. Also, what I would recommend after you maybe do some hand removal of the crabgrass is in late August, early September, overcast a bunch of grass seed down, especially during a rainy week. So then that way, what we can do is thicken up your lawn and not allow a lot of real estate for those crabgrass seeds to sit and grow. Any exposed soil is an opportunity for them to take up that real estate in the form of weeds. Question here is when do we put sod down? Joanne, if you're able to water, you can put sod down at any time of the year. However, the better time to put sod down with greater success is where we're doing it either in spring or we're doing it into early fall, all the way through to when the snow flies, we can lay sod down. The cooler conditions, the cooler nights are way more favorable and a lot easier on sod. If you're getting a skid of sod and we had it arrive on, let's say Friday, but we can't lay it till Sunday, that sod on a summer day that's a temperature of 27 degrees will actually cook on the skid. So if you get sod delivered, you have to lay it. My recommendation is lay it as fast as possible because we don't want it to sit on the skid and cook because it could actually basically compost right on the skid. So I hope I help you out there. I got hi, Sunshine. Hi, guys out there as well. Hello. Good morning. We got out there. Good morning, Linda, Lori Smith, and Christine. I love it that you guys are all giving shout outs to everybody that's out there as well this morning. And we got a good shout out. Look at this, the community saying hi to each other, which is fantastic. Another question about an indoor plant, which is a Hoya. Hoya is a fantastic plant. My Hoya has never bloomed. It's probably 20 years old. Hoyas do take some time and some maturity to bloom. They do need to be in a bright room to bloom. What I would recommend, if it hasn't bloomed in 20 years, it's probably a really good time to repot that plant because it's probably not got enough nutrient and or vigor to sustain or to support blooms. What is a great time about this time of the year to repot tropical plants is we can do it outdoors. So we take our plants outside, we repot them into a larger container. So if it's in a 10-inch pot, we're only going to move it up to a 12 or 14-inch pot, only one or two sizes greater. We're going to use potting soil outdoors, make sure the new pot has drainage. And then outdoors, what we can do is after repotting is put it into a part sun location, water it, and allow it just to kind of root and settle by being outdoors. And part sun allows all that beautiful humidity. And then we'll bring it back indoors about a week thereafter. That way the mess is outside and it's going to stimulate or help that plant to get itself back into bloom. We got Sandra saying shared. So once again, a reminder, if you're just hopping on, if you share this, it enters you into a draw to win up to $75 of Scott's Miracle-Gro products. And full disclosure, I work with Scott's Miracle-Gro. I actually think they're a fantastic, fabulous company. They support me in many different endeavors, and they're one of the reasons why I can be here with you each and every week. I talk about all their products that I've used, that I believe in, and that I know of. And that's what my whole thing is in any type of partnership or anything I do, I have to be able to talk about what's best in industry, what is something that I would do or something that I believe in or something truly that fits me and my lifestyle. If it doesn't fit that, I won't do a partnership on. So that's why you've seen me do some different partnerships that are out there, and because they fit who I am and what I stand for. Peggy, what does a wild cucumber do? Saw one in the wild, never heard of it, but my friend said that it was it, and share your broadcast. So the wild cucumber does nothing. It's actually an incredibly fast growing plant that does put on what appears to be a spiky cucumber, but there really is no fruit that's there, nothing that's edible. Within that is it's almost like a puffball. When you squeeze it, it's full seeds. That's why it can disperse its seeds. It's a vine type plant that grows like friggin' wild and crazy. And once you get them, you want to remove them before they actually set that fruit and or additional seeds, or else it'll be hard to get rid of them. They are an annual weed that does grow by seed. We got another comment and or question from Marlene. Apparently, I've been hit with a cucumber beetle. Is it too late to grow new plants? No, the thing is now, like, so now in summer months, if you're not going away on vacation, you can water, you can plant perennials, no problem. You can plant trees and shrubs, no problems. There are still some annuals available at some garden centers. It's too late to plant new plants if we want to do tomatoes this year. If we want to do peppers this year, it's too late for that. But if we wanted to, let's say, grow some additional lettuce, we can do another sowing of lettuce right now. If we want to do radishes, we can sow some radishes right now. We want to do spinach, we could sow some spinach right now. Those are all the quick growers. So it's not too late to plant, but it depends on what you're thinking about planting. Japanese beetle, once again, it's Beetle Be Gone is the product that you can use to treat them. If you're using a beetle trap, a reminder, beetle traps are pheromone based, which means they attract beetles. So if we're putting a pheromone trap around our property, we never want to put it where we're having the problem. We want to put it away from the problem to attract the beetles away from our prize plants that are out there. I'm going to answer one more question. We got a question about lawns again. Lisa, my back lawn looks great and lush. My front yard has dry patches and yellow clover. I'm not sure what to do. I've been pulling, but losing the battle. What else could I do? So in the front lawn, if it's really compacted, sometimes your front lawn will have a little bit more activity. That's where you will want to aerate. So if it's hard surface, aerate. So then that way we can actually allow more moisture to go in. And then also, we could also allow the fertilizer if you're fertilizing in. Scott's 911 Lawn Response is a fantastic product that has mulch, seed, and fertilizer. I would put that on the front lawn in early September to thicken up that front lawn, and then just cut your lawn a little bit higher in terms of the height and continue to work at it. It does take some work, but making sure that it's not compacted, so aerating, continue to remove some weeds that are there, cut the lawn at a little bit taller of a height, and then come September, you're going to be putting that 911 Scott's Lawn Response on, and then that's a fantastic product. Or if you're not going to use the 911 Lawn Response, you're going to overseed. So you're going to actually first top dress with soil and then overseed to thicken that lawn up. So for all those that joined us this week, we're at just over 32 minutes. We had 179 people that joined us live, and we're popping around and answering some questions. For all those, I really thank you for joining us. I want to make sure that you have a fantastic day, a fantastic long weekend. Keep blooming. If you want more information, go to frankieflowers.com. Make sure you join the newsletter. You go on the website at the bottom, join the newsletter. Our newsletter will be coming out in 2 weeks. It's the summer newsletter. We combined a couple months together because Amanda's getting married and I've been traveling all over the place. It's been busy. I hope you guys have a wonderful day overall. Keep blooming, keep growing.